I'm standing in my kitchen, watching my 17-year-old son Jake defend the woman who'd been sleeping with his father for the past 2 years. "Mom! You're being unfair to Natalie." Those words hit me like a slap. Unfair. To her. The woman who'd been texting my husband sweet little messages while I was making dinner for my family every night. The woman who knew exactly what she was doing when she started flirting with David at those work conferences. But somehow, I was the villain in this story. "Jake, you don't understand." "No, Mum, I do understand. Dad's happier now. We all see it. And Natalie, she actually cares about what I'm doing in school. She asks about my music." There it was. The knife twisted just right. My own son telling me that his father's mistress cared more about him than I did. I'd been asking about his music for years, every single day, but somehow, when she did it, it mattered more. You want to know what 17 years of marriage dying sounds like. It sounds like your teenager telling you that the woman who destroyed your family is better at being a mum than you are. I stood there, dish towel in my hands, trying to process what was happening. The kitchen felt smaller suddenly. The same kitchen where I'd made Jake's birthday cakes, where I'd helped him with homework, where I'd sat with him when he had nightmares as a little boy. Now it felt like foreign territory. "She's not your mother, Jake." "Neither are you, apparently." God, when did he get so cruel? When did my sweet boy, the one who used to bring me dandelions from the yard, learn to cut this deep? "What's that supposed to mean?" Jake rolled his eyes. The same eyes that used to light up when I came home from work. The same eyes that used to search for me in the crowd at his school plays. "It means, maybe, if you paid attention to anyone other than yourself, you'd see that Dad's been miserable for years. Miserable. David had been miserable. With me. And apparently, everyone knew it but me. Jake, your father had an affair. So what? People fall out of love, Mom. It happens. 17 years old, and he was lecturing me about love, about marriage, about what happens when people grow apart. Like he had any idea what it felt like to build a life with someone, only to have them decide you weren't worth fighting for anymore. "Where's your father?" I asked. "At Natalie's, where he's been most nights for the past month." Most nights. I'd been telling myself he was working late, that the promotion meant longer hours, that the distance between us was just temporary stress. But Jake knew. Jake had known all along. "And you're okay with this?" "I'm okay with Dad being happy. I'm okay with someone in this house not walking around like they're carrying the weight of the world." Was that how he saw me? As some miserable woman who sucked the life out of everything? I thought about all those mornings I'd made his breakfast, all those nights I'd waited up to make sure he got home safe, all those soccer games I'd sat through in the rain, cheering for him when he barely got off the bench, carrying the weight of the world. Maybe I was. Maybe trying to hold a family together when half of it had already checked out was too heavy a load. "Jake, I know things have been difficult lately, but..." "Difficult?" "Mum, you've been walking around this house like a ghost for 2 years. Dad's been sleeping in the guest room for 6 months. Did you think I wouldn't notice? 6 months! Had it really been that long since David and I had shared a bed? Since we'd said goodnight to each other? Since we'd been anything more than roommates managing a household? When did I stop noticing that my marriage was over? Your father and we're working through some things." "No, you're not. You're avoiding each other. And when you do talk, you're either fighting or pretending everything's fine." He was right. When had my 17-year-old gotten so good at seeing through my lies? "Natalie doesn't pretend," Jake continued. "She's real. She's honest. When she asks how my day was, she actually listens to the answer. I listen to you." "No, Mom, you don't. You ask the questions, but you're already thinking about something else. Grocery lists, work stuff, whatever Dad's mad about this week." Was that true? I tried to remember our last real conversation. Not the logistics of life. Who's picking up who? What's for dinner? Did you finish your homework? A real conversation. I couldn't. "Jake, I'm your mother. I love you more than anything in this world." "I know you love me, Mum. But loving someone and seeing them are two different things." Seeing them? God, When did my kid get so wise? And when did his wisdom hurt so much? What do you mean? Natalie sees me. She notices when I'm upset. She remembers the things I tell her. She doesn't just go through the motions. Going through the motions. Is that what I'd been doing? Just checking boxes on the list of motherhood without really being present? I thought about dinner last night. Jake had been quiet, pushing his food around his plate. I'd asked if he was okay, and when he said fine, I'd believed him. Or maybe I'd just been too tired to dig deeper. Natalie would have dug deeper. She's been around for 2 years, Jake. I've been here for 17. Physically, yeah. But, Mom, when's the last time you really looked at me, like really saw me? I wanted to argue. I wanted to list all the ways I'd been there, all the things I'd done, all the love I'd poured into raising him. But standing there in that kitchen, looking at my son, really looking at him, I realised he was taller than me now. When had that happened? His voice had settled into something deeper, more adult. His shoulders had broadened. When had my little boy become this young man I barely recognised? I see you every day. No, you see what you expect to see. You see the kid who needs to clean his room and finish his homework and remember to take out the trash. You don't see me. That's not true. When's the last time you asked me about Emma? Emma, his girlfriend, the sweet girl with the bright smile who'd been coming around for months. I knew her name. I said hello when she was over. I made sure there were snacks in the house when she visited. But when was the last time I'd really asked about her? About how Jake felt about her? About whether he was happy? You know about Emma. I know you know her name. That's not the same thing. He was right. Again. Jake, I'm sorry if I've been distracted lately. Your father and I... Stop blaming Dad for everything. You checked out way before he did. Checked out? Had I? I thought about the past 2 years. Work had gotten more demanding. The promotion I'd fought for meant longer hours, more stress. Coming home exhausted, just trying to keep everything running smoothly. When had smoothly become more important than meaningfully? I haven't checked out. I'm here. I'm always here. Being here isn't the same as being present, Mum. 17 years old, and he was teaching me about presence, about what it meant to really show up for someone. Natalie's present? Yeah, she is. When she asks about my music, she actually wants to hear the songs I'm working on. She doesn't just say, "That's nice, honey," and move on to the next thing. Music. Jake had been writing music for over a year. I knew that. I'd seen the guitar in his room, heard him playing sometimes when I walked by. But when was the last time I'd actually listened? When was the last time I'd asked to hear something he'd written? Natalie had. What kind of music are you writing? Jake looked at me like I'd just asked him what colour the sky was. See? You don't even know. I'm asking now. Now you're asking because you feel guilty. That's different. Guilty. Yeah, I felt guilty. Guilty that some woman who'd been sleeping with my husband for 2 years knew more about my son's passions than I did. Jake, I want to know. I want to understand. It's too late for that, Mum. Too late. At 17, he was telling me it was too late to really know my own child. It's not too late. We can... Dad's filing for divorce next week. The words hit me like a physical blow. Divorce. Next week. How do you know that? Because he told me. And Natalie. We talked about it. They'd talked about it. The 3 of them. My husband, my son, and his mistress. Planning my future without me. And you're okay with that? I'm okay with everyone being honest for once. Honest. There was that word again. Where does that leave us, Jake? You and me? I don't know, Mum. Where do you want it to leave us? What kind of question was that? He was my son, my only child, the most important thing in my world. But looking at him now, I realised I'd been loving him like a possession instead of a person, caring for him instead of connecting with him. I want us to be okay. Then you need to figure out who you are when you're not trying to hold everyone else together. Who I was. I'd been David's wife for 17 years, Jake's mother for 17 years. I'd been the woman who managed the household, who remembered everyone's schedules, who made sure life ran smoothly. But who was I underneath all of that? I honestly didn't know. I don't know how to do that. Maybe that's where you start. Jake grabbed his backpack from the counter, the same backpack I'd bought him at the beginning of the school year, the one I'd reminded him to pack every morning for months. Where are you going? To Dad's. To Natalie's. To Natalie's. Not to his father's. To hers. Because somehow, in the space of 2 years, she'd become more home to him than I was. Jake, wait. He stopped at the kitchen door. What? I love you. I know you do, Mum. But love isn't enough if you don't know how to show it. And then he was gone. I stood in that kitchen, still holding the dish towel, surrounded by the life I'd worked so hard to build. The coffee maker I'd programmed every night for 17 years. The refrigerator covered with Jake's school photos and report cards. The table where we'd eaten thousands of meals together. All of it suddenly felt empty, like I'd been curating a museum of family life instead of actually living it. My phone buzzed. A text from David. We need to talk. Can you come by tomorrow evening? Natalie will be there. Natalie will be there. At the conversation about the end of my marriage, his mistress would be present, because apparently she was more family now than I was. I looked around the kitchen one more time. 17 years of marriage, 17 years of motherhood. And somehow I'd managed to lose both my husband and my son to a woman who'd been in their lives for 2 years. Maybe Jake was right. Maybe I did need to figure out who I was when I wasn't trying to hold everyone else together. Because clearly I hadn't been doing a very good job of that anyway. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying Jake's words. Love isn't enough if you don't know how to show it. At 2 a.m, I found myself in his room, just standing there, looking at the space he'd inhabited for 17 years. The walls covered with posters of bands I'd never asked about. A guitar propped in the corner that I'd walked past 1,000 times without really seeing. There was a notebook on his desk. Open. Song lyrics written in his messy handwriting. She sees the parts of me that disappear when everyone else looks right through. Invisible boy in a house full of noise. Waiting for someone to see what's true. Invisible boy. My son felt invisible. In our house. The house where I thought I'd been taking care of everything. I sat on his bed reading more. Mum asks the questions but doesn't hear. Dad's got his mind on someone new. I'm 17 and fading fast. In a family that never knew. Never knew. We never knew him, and I'd been so focused on managing everyone's lives that I'd forgotten to actually live in them. The next morning, David called. Can you meet us at 7? At Natalie's place. Us, like they were a unit now. Why can't we talk at home? Because that's not neutral territory anymore. Neutral territory. Our house where we'd raised our son, where we'd celebrated birthdays and holidays, where we'd built what I thought was a life together, was no longer neutral. It belonged to me now, the woman who'd been left behind. I spent the day trying to prepare for whatever was coming. Practiced conversations in my head, imagined myself being dignified, mature, understanding. But when I pulled into Natalie's driveway at 7 p.m, seeing David's car already there, all my preparation crumbled. This was really happening. Natalie answered the door. She was younger than me, but not by much. Pretty in an effortless way that I'd stopped being years ago. She was wearing jeans and a sweater, looking comfortable and at home. Hi, Rebecca. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. To discuss the end of my marriage, like I was a guest at my own funeral. Where's Jake? Upstairs, working on homework. He thought it would be better if the adults talked first. The adults. When had my 17-year-old become more mature than his parents? David was sitting at her kitchen table, the same spot where he probably sat for breakfast now, where he probably read the morning news and drank coffee with her instead of me. How long has this been going on? I asked, sitting across from them. They glanced at each other, one of those couple looks that David and I used to share back when we were actually a couple. Emotionally, about 2 years, Natalie said. Physically, 8 months. 8 months. While I was making his dinner every night, while I was doing his laundry, while I was pretending we were working through our problems. Why didn't you just leave me first? David looked uncomfortable. Good. I didn't know how. We'd been together for so long, I didn't know who I was without you. So you figured it out with her instead. Rebecca, I know this is hard. Don't. I held up my hand. Don't tell me how I should feel about this. We sat in silence for a moment. The kitchen was warm, lived in. There were photos on the refrigerator, sir. Some of Jake, laughing in ways I hadn't seen him laugh at home in months. He's happier here, I said. He feels seen here, Natalie said quietly. Everyone keeps using that word. Seen. What does that even mean? Natalie leaned forward. She had kind eyes. I hated that about her. It means when he tells me about a song he's writing, I ask to hear it. When he's upset about something at school, I sit with him until he's ready to talk about it. When he's excited about something, I get excited with him. I do those things. Do you? The question hung in the air. Did I? Or did I just think I did? Last week, Natalie continued, Jake came home upset because Emma had to cancel their date. You asked what was wrong, and when he said nothing, you just said okay, and went back to loading the dishwasher. She was right. I remembered that night. I sat with him for 2 hours while he talked about how he's afraid Emma's losing interest, how he doesn't know how to be vulnerable with someone he cares about, how he's scared he's going to mess it up, like what? Like he sees the adults in his life messing it up? Like David and me. Our son was learning about love by watching us destroy ours. He talks to you about Emma? He talks to me about everything. His music, his fears, his dreams, his worry about you. He worries about me. David shifted in his chair. He's been worried about you for a long time, Rebecca. What do you mean? He sees how hard you try to keep everything perfect, how you exhaust yourself trying to manage everyone else's happiness. He's been afraid that if he adds his problems to your list, you'll break. My son had been protecting me from his own life, so instead of coming to me, he comes to her. Instead of burdening you, he comes to someone who has space for his feelings. Space for his feelings. When had I stopped having space for my own son's feelings? I work hard to take care of this family. You work hard to manage this family, David corrected. That's different. What's the difference? Natalie answered. Managing is about control. Taking care is about connection. Connection. When was the last time I'd felt truly connected to anyone? Jake asked me something last week, Natalie said. He asked if I thought you were happy. What did you tell him? I told him I didn't think you'd been happy in a very long time. She was right. I couldn't remember the last time I'd felt genuinely happy. Content, maybe? Satisfied with checking things off my list? But happy? He wants you to be happy, Rebecca. That's all he's ever wanted. Then why is he choosing you over me? He's not choosing me over you. He's choosing honesty over pretending. He's choosing connection over management. He's choosing to be seen over being managed. I felt tears starting. I'd worked so hard not to cry in front of them. I don't know how to be different. Maybe start by asking yourself who you are when you're not taking care of everyone else, David said. The same thing Jake had said. I don't remember. Maybe it's time to find out. Later that night, I called my sister Amy. I hadn't talked to her in months, even though we used to be close. Rebecca, it's late. Is everything okay? When was the last time someone had asked if I was okay and actually waited for a real answer? David's leaving me. Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. Do you want me to come over? Actually, can I come there? I don't want to be in this house tonight. An hour later, I was sitting in Amy's living room, drinking tea and crying for the first time in years. How long has it been since you've done something just for you? Amy asked. I don't know what that would even be. What did you used to love? Before David, before Jake, before all the responsibility. I thought about it. Really thought about it. I used to write. Write what? Stories. Stupid stories about women who went on adventures and fell in love and discovered things about themselves. That doesn't sound stupid. I haven't written anything in 15 years. Maybe it's time to start again. I wouldn't even know where to begin. Amy got up and came back with a notebook. Plain, simple, empty. Begin with how you feel right now. That night, in Amy's spare room, I wrote for the first time in 15 years. I wrote about feeling invisible in my own life, about loving people so hard that I forgot to love myself, about managing everyone else's happiness while my own withered away. I wrote until my hand cramped and my eyes burned, and for the first time in years, I felt like myself. The next morning, Jake called. "Mom, are you okay? Dad said you didn't come home last night." I'm at Aunt Amy's. I needed some space to think. "Are you mad at me? About what I said yesterday?" "No, sweetheart, I'm not mad. I'm grateful." "Grateful? You told me the truth, even when it hurt. That's brave." "I didn't want to hurt you." "I know, but sometimes the truth hurts before it helps." "Are you and Dad getting divorced?" "Yeah, we are." "Are you okay with that?" Was I? Sitting in Amy's kitchen, holding the notebook where I'd poured out my heart, I realised something. I was scared. I was sad. I was angry. But I was also relieved. "I think I will be. Are you okay with it?" "I think so. I want you to be happy, Mum. Really happy." "I want that too. Can I ask you something?" "Anything. Will you play me one of your songs sometime? I mean, if you ever feel like sharing." "My songs?" "Jake, I don't write music." "I know. But you used to write stories, right? Dad mentioned it once. Maybe you could read me one sometime?" He wanted to hear my stories. My son, who felt invisible, wanted to see the part of me that I'd made invisible. I'd like that. Good. Because I've been writing songs about our family, and I think you should hear them too. I'd love that. "Mom?" "Yeah?" "I love you. The real you, not just the mum you. I want to know who you are underneath all that." Underneath all that. For the first time in years, I was curious about that too. "I love you too, Jake. And I promise I'm going to figure out how to show it better." "You're already starting to..." After we hung up, I opened the notebook again. There was still so much to write, so much to discover, so much of myself to find. The divorce papers arrived on a Tuesday. 17 years reduced to legal documents and asset division. I signed them at Amy's kitchen table, the same place where I'd been writing every morning for the past 3 weeks. Strange how ending a marriage could feel both devastating and liberating at the same time. "How do you feel?" Amy asked, watching me seal the envelope. "Empty, but not in a bad way. Like I finally have room to breathe." Jake had been staying with David and Natalie since our conversation. At first, it hurt, but then I realised something. He wasn't running from me anymore. He was giving me space to figure out who I was. My phone rang. "Jake." "Mom, are you busy?" "Never too busy for you. What's up?" "Can you meet me somewhere? Just us. There's something I want to show you." An hour later, I met him at the park where I used to push him on swings when he was little. He was sitting on a bench with his guitar case beside him. "Remember when you used to bring me here?" he asked as I sat down. "You always wanted to go higher on the swings. I was terrified you'd fall, but you pushed me anyway. You were so happy when you were flying." He smiled. "I wrote a song about that. About flying and falling and trusting someone to catch you." He opened his guitar case. The instrument looked worn, loved. How many hours had he spent playing it while I was busy managing everything else? "Will you listen to it?" "I'd be honoured." His fingers found the strings, and suddenly my 17-year-old disappeared. In his place was this artist, this young man with something important to say. She used to push me on the swings when I was small and brave. Now I'm 17 and scared of all the love I crave. But when I play these chords, I remember how to fly. Before the world got complicated, before we learned to lie. His voice was beautiful, raw and honest, just like him. We both got lost along the way, in trying to be perfect. But broken things can still be beautiful. Sometimes they're more worth it. So here's to second chances, and learning how to see the people that we really are, instead of who we think we should be. When he finished, I was crying. "Jake, that's incredible." "You really think so?" "I think you're the most talented person I know." "When did you get so wise?" "I learned from watching you try so hard to hold everyone together. It made me realise that sometimes Falling apart is the only way to find out what you're really made of. Falling apart. Is that what I did? Fall apart? No, Mum. You let yourself be real for the first time in years. We sat in comfortable silence, watching other families at the playground. Parents pushing kids on swings, catching them at the bottom of slides, cheering for small victories. I miss that, I said. When you were little and I knew how to make you happy. You still make me happy, Mum. Just differently now. How? By finally being yourself. By writing again. By not pretending everything's fine when it's not. Amy told you about the writing. She might have mentioned it. Also, you left your notebook on the coffee table yesterday. I may have read a few pages. Jake! He laughed. Mum, you're really good. Like, really good. Well, why did you stop? Life got in the way. Marriage, motherhood, work. There wasn't time. Or maybe you didn't think you deserved the time. He was right. Again. When did you get so smart about people? I had a lot of time to think and watch. Being invisible gives you a different perspective on things. You were never invisible to me. I know that now. But I was invisible to the version of you that was too busy managing everyone else's needs to see what I actually needed. Well, what did you need? Just your attention. Your real attention. Not the mum attention where you're listening, but also thinking about 10 other things. I needed you to be present with me. Present. I'm learning how to do that. I know. That's why I wanted to play you this song. Because for the first time in years, I felt like you were really here. Really listening. I am. Good. Because I have about 15 more songs I want to play for you. We spent the next 2 hours in that park. Jake played song after song, each one revealing pieces of himself I'd never seen. Songs about growing up, about watching his parents' marriage fall apart, about feeling caught between childhood and adulthood, but also songs about hope, about second chances, about learning to love people for who they really are instead of who you need them to be. Play the one about Emma, I said. He blushed. How did you know there was one about Emma? Because you're 17 and in love. Of course, there's one about Emma. This song was different, softer, more vulnerable. She sees me when I'm trying too hard. She laughs when I'm trying to be cool. She holds my hand when I'm falling apart and makes me feel less like a fool. I want to tell her all my secrets, but I'm scared she'll walk away, like everyone else who gets too close. Eventually does someday. Jake, yeah? Emma's not going anywhere. Trust me, I've seen the way she looks at you. How does she look at me? The same way I used to look at your father, back when we first fell in love. Like you're the most interesting person in the world. Really? Really? And if she's half as smart as she seems, she already knows all your secrets anyway. Girls are good at that. He laughed. Is that mom wisdom or woman wisdom? Both. My phone buzzed. A text from David. Can we talk? Something's happened with Jake. I showed Jake the message. What's that about? I don't know. Did something happen at school? No, but... He looked uncomfortable. There might be something going on with Dad and Natalie. What do you mean? They've been fighting. A lot ever since you moved out. Fighting about what? Me, mostly. Dad wants me to give you space, but Natalie thinks I should be spending more time here. With you, Natalie thinks that. Yeah, she keeps saying that you're my mom and that nothing should change that. But Dad, he's weird about it. Like, he's afraid if I get close to you again, you'll try to turn me against them or something. I would never do that. I know, Natalie knows that too. But Dad's paranoid. How are you handling all this? Honestly, I'm exhausted. I thought living with them would be easier, but it's like they expect me to be grateful all the time, like I should be happy that Dad left you for her. Are you happy about it? I'm happy that everyone's being honest now, but I'm not happy that Dad hurt you, and I'm not happy that he seems to think choosing her means not choosing you. What do you mean? He acts like caring about you is being disloyal to them. Like I have to pick sides. My heart broke a little. You don't have to pick sides, Jake. I know. That's what Natalie keeps telling him. She defends you. A lot. She does? Yeah. When Dad complains about having to pay alimony or when he makes comments about the house or whatever, she shuts him down. She says you were a good wife and mother and that he needs to take responsibility for his choices. This was not what I'd expected to hear. How do you feel about her? Really? Jake thought for a moment. I like her. She's kind and she genuinely cares about me, but I think she feels guilty about how everything happened, about how it affected you. And your dad. Dad's different. He's happier in some ways, but he's also angrier. Like he's trying to convince himself that leaving was the right choice by making you the villain. I see. But you're not the villain, Mum. You never were. You were just lost. We all were lost. Yeah, we had been. Jake, I want you to know something. Whatever happens between your father and me, whatever happened with Natalie, none of that changes how much I love you. And you never have to choose between us. I know that now, but I don't think Dad does. What do you mean? I think he's scared that if I love you, it means I don't approve of his choices. Like he needs me to reject you to validate what he did. 17 years old, and my son was reading the psychology of adults with frightening accuracy. That must be hard for you. It is, because I do love you, Mum. I always have. Even when I was angry, even when I said those things about Natalie being better, I was just hurt that you couldn't see me. I see you now. I know. And that's why this is so hard. Because now I have to choose between living with people who expect me to be grateful for a situation that hurt someone I love, or living with someone who's finally becoming the person I always knew she could be. Jake, you don't have to. Yes, I do. And I choose you, Mum. I want to come home. Home. Our house, which had felt so empty and foreign just weeks ago, suddenly felt like home again. But not because Jake was choosing me over them, because for the first time in years, we were choosing each other. Jake moved back home on a Thursday, not with fanfare or drama, just a quiet knock on the door, his guitar case in one hand, a duffel bag in the other. Hey, Mum. Hey, baby, welcome home. That first night, we ordered pizza and sat on the living room floor, talking until 2 a.m. about everything and nothing, about his music, my writing, Emma, the future. It felt like meeting each other for the first time, but David's reaction was explosive. The call started the next morning. You manipulated him into coming back. You're using him to hurt me. This is exactly the kind of petty revenge I expected from you. I listened to the voicemails while Jake was at school, my stomach churning with each accusation. The worst part, a tiny voice in my head wondered if he was right. Had I manipulated Jake? Had I somehow made him feel guilty for choosing David and Natalie? But then Jake came home, humming one of his songs, and I saw something I hadn't seen in years. He looked peaceful. Dad called me today, he said, dropping his backpack by the door. What did he say? He wants me to come back. Says I'm making a mistake. Says you will just hurt me again when you get bored of playing the good mum. The word stung, even secondhand. What did you tell him? I told him that the difference between you now and you before is that now you're not pretending. You're not trying to be perfect. You're just trying to be real. And what did he say to that? He said, real isn't enough. That I need stability, not someone having a midlife crisis. Midlife crisis? Is that what this was? Finally becoming myself? Jake, if you think your dad is right. Mum, stop. Just stop. He sat down next to me on the couch. I've spent 2 months watching Dad and Natalie's stability. You want to know what stable looks like? I nodded. It looks like Dad working 16-hour days to avoid being home. It looks like Natalie crying in the kitchen when she thinks no one's watching. It looks like both of them pretending they're happy while they slowly drive each other crazy. What do you mean? Dad thought leaving you would solve all his problems, but it turns out his problems weren't about you. They were about him. And now he's doing the same things with Natalie that he did with you, except faster. What things? not talking about what's really wrong, making work more important than relationships, expecting someone else to make him happy instead of figuring out how to be happy himself. My 17-year-old son, the relationship therapist, and Natalie? Natalie's realizing that being the other woman was easier than being the woman. When she was your replacement, she only had to be perfect sometimes. Now, she has to be perfect all the time, and it's killing her. Do they know you see all this? I think Natalie does. She keeps asking me if I'm happy here, if you're treating me well. Like she's worried she ruined my life by coming between us. What do you tell her? I tell her the truth, that you and I are closer now than we've been in years. That living here feels like home instead of like managing a household. That I can be sad or angry or excited without worrying that I'm adding to your stress. Home. But Dad doesn't want to hear that. Dad doesn't want to hear anything that suggests leaving you wasn't the perfect solution to his unhappiness. 3 weeks later, Natalie called me. Rebecca, could we meet? Just us? I almost said no, but something in her voice made me curious. We met at a small cafe downtown. She looked tired, older than she had just a month ago. Thank you for agreeing to see me. What's this about, Natalie? She stirred her coffee nervously. I owe you an apology. For what? For thinking I understood your marriage, for thinking I could do better, for believing that love was enough to fix whatever was broken. This was not the conversation I'd expected. What's changed? David's not happy. I thought I could make him happy, but it turns out no one can make another person happy. They have to choose it for themselves. What do you mean? He complains about work the same way he complained to me about you. He shuts down when things get difficult the same way he did in your marriage. He expects me to manage his emotions the same way you did for 17 years. And you're tired of it. I'm exhausted. But more than that, I'm realizing that I didn't fall in love with David. I fell in love with the version of himself he showed me when he was escaping his real life. That's not the same person. No, it's not. The real David is complicated, moody, avoidant. He needs constant validation but doesn't know how to give it back. I knew all of this. I'd lived with it for 17 years. Why are you telling me this? Because I want you to know that you weren't the problem. You never were. And I'm sorry it took me destroying your family to figure that out. Natalie, Jake loves you so much, Rebecca. He talks about you constantly, about how you're writing again, how you laugh more now, how you actually listen when he plays his music. He lights up when he talks about coming home to you. He's happy living with me. He's happier than I've ever seen him. And that's making David angry, because it means leaving you didn't save Jake from an unhappy home. It just showed him what a happy home could look like. We sat in silence for a moment. What happens now? I asked. I don't know. David wants to fight for custody. He thinks if he can force Jake to come back, it will prove that his choices were right. And you? I think Jake should be wherever he's happiest. And that's with you. That might end your relationship with David. My relationship with David was built on a lie. The lie that I could fix what was broken in him. But you can't fix someone who doesn't want to be fixed. Have you told him this? I've tried, but he doesn't want to hear it. He wants me to be grateful that he chose me over you. He wants me to validate his decision by being perfect and happy and problem-free. That's exhausting. It is. And I'm realizing that the reason he was attracted to me in the first place wasn't because I was better than you. It was because I didn't know him well enough to expect anything real from him. And now you do. Now I do. And now I understand why you looked so tired all the time. Why you seemed to be carrying the weight of the world. You were carrying the weight of his world on top of your own. I felt something I hadn't expected. Compassion for her. I'm sorry you're going through this. I'm sorry I put you through it first. 2 months later, David filed for custody of Jake. The hearing was scheduled for a Tuesday morning in November. Jake was furious. He can't make me live somewhere I don't want to live, can he? At 17, the judge will probably listen to your preference. But your dad has rights too. What rights? the right to make me miserable just to make himself feel better. Jake, your father loves you. He loves the idea of me, the idea of being the dad whose son chose him over his ex-wife. But he doesn't love the real me, because he's never bothered to get to know the real me. The night before the hearing, Jake couldn't sleep. I found him in the kitchen at midnight, strumming his guitar softly. New song. Song for tomorrow, in case I need to tell the judge how I feel. Can I hear it? He nodded and started to play. I'm 17 and learning what love means. It's not about possession or control. It's not about who wins or who loses. It's about seeing someone's soul. My mom sees me when I'm broken. My mom hears me when I'm scared. My mom lets me be imperfect. Because perfect love means you're cared for just as you are. My father loves conditionally. If I choose him, then he's proud. If I need space, then I've betrayed him. If I think for myself, I'm not allowed. But love isn't supposed to be a competition. Love isn't supposed to hurt. Love is supposed to make you brave, not make you question what you're worth. When he finished, we were both crying. Jake, that's beautiful. It's true. And tomorrow, I'm going to make sure everyone knows it. The next morning, we walked into that courtroom together. David sat with his lawyer, looking confident. Natalie wasn't there. The judge was a kind-looking woman in her 50s. She listened patiently as David's lawyer painted me as an unstable woman, using her son to get revenge on her ex-husband. Then it was our turn. Your Honour, our lawyer said, we'd like Jake to speak for himself. Jake stood up, guitar case in hand. Your Honour, I know this is unusual, but I wrote something I'd like to share. It explains better than I could in just words how I feel about all this. The judge nodded, and my son played his song in that courtroom, his voice strong and clear, his truth ringing through the silence. When he finished, the judge was quiet for a long moment. Jake, do you feel safe and happy living with your mother? Yes, Your Honour. For the first time in years, I feel like I can be myself. And do you feel your father loves you? I think he loves the idea of me, but my mom loves who I actually am. The judge made her decision. Jake stayed with me. As we walked out of the courthouse, Jake said, Mom, I need to tell you something. What? Natalie left Dad last week? What? She said she couldn't watch him try to control everyone around him just to avoid dealing with his own stuff. She said it reminded her too much of her own father. How is your dad handling it? Not well. He's been calling me every day, asking if I'll come stay with him. He's lonely. How do you feel about that? Sad for him, but not responsible for him. You taught me that. When did I teach you that? When you stopped being responsible for his happiness and started being responsible for your own. 6 months later, I published my first short story in 15 years. It was about a woman who spent so long taking care of everyone else that she forgot who she was underneath all of that care. Jake was my first reader. Mum, this is incredible. You should write a whole book. Maybe I will. What would it be about? A woman who thought love meant making herself invisible, and how she learned to be seen. Sounds like someone I know. Yeah, she's pretty amazing, once you get to know her. That night, Jake played at the local coffee shop's open mic night. I sat in the front row, watching my son, this incredible young man who taught me how to love without disappearing, share his gift with the world. When he finished his set, he said into the microphone, that last song was for my mum, who taught me that the best kind of love is the kind that sees you exactly as you are and loves you anyway. The audience applauded, but I barely heard it, because for the first time in my life, I felt truly seen, not as someone's wife, not as someone's mother, but as myself. And that was enough. More than enough. It was everything.